Over the next couple of weeks, we're going to start talking about how business is going to respond to the impact of the current crisis that we're currently ongoing. And I'm delighted to say our first guest to that end is Jonathan Courtenay, Managing Director of JACC Sports and Toplion Sports. You're going to know them out there as the brands Umbro, New Era, BLK, and this is the company that distributes them in Ireland. That also has looked after the Ireland shirt for decades at this stage. Jonathan, how are you doing?
I'm okay, thanks. How are you guys?
It seems a bit weird to be talking about business, so we should talk about the crisis first, because I think everybody kind of feels like they need to get that out of the way. How has lockdown been treating you? What have you been getting up to?
Yeah, I suppose like everybody else, we're feeling that whole new world thing going on, and it's our place is effectively closed down. We do have two people. We've an allowance of 2 people to go in every day, and that's really to keep our online business ticking over, because obviously all retail is closed down and sport is effectively off. So all of our reps are out working from home and trying to build up contacts and do stuff that they wouldn't normally have the time to do on a regular basis. So really it's everything has moved online, and we're just trying to support our League of Ireland teams in particular on that, because we would host the likes of the online pieces or the online stores, I should say, for the likes of Shamrock Rovers and Dundalk and Shells and Pats and Bray, all the teams that we look after, Waterford, Drogheda, etc. So we're trying to do that service, but things are difficult, I suppose, the same as they are for everybody.
Everybody's looking for silver linings in this, and one of the silver linings is that it's going to accelerate some parts of business that probably should have been online years ago and that haven't been online. Is there any aspect of this in terms of the sportswear and the distribution that when this is all over and we all come out the other side of it, that you're going to go, actually, you know what, that's a better way of doing business?
I guess it's showing that more and more people are willing to go online who possibly don't already shop online. And that's true, I suppose, force rather than, or necessity rather than having loads of options at the moment. It might be detrimental to more retailers. I think everybody saw that Debenhams basically went into administration and stuff the other day. And I think that there will be more fallout on the retail side of things. But I think the pattern, if you like, of a lot of business moving online will just really ramp up. I think people will get more used to it. Maybe a different generation, slightly older people who don't regularly shop online, be doing it now probably out of boredom more than anything else, but I think it will certainly give the high street more challenges going forward.
Yeah, it's definitely going to result in a completely different look and feel to our city centres, and how we as a society deal with that is going to be a big challenge into the next couple of years. What do you think is going to happen with the relationship between big clubs and big teams and big sports franchises and their sportswear providers? Will, for example, the GAA's season ticket had the word pandemic in its terms and conditions, and Wimbledon obviously had a massive insurance policy on the basis that there might be a global pandemic. So I'm sure in the clauses that the big clubs have with their big sportswear brands, there's all sorts of ways to deal with a scenario like this. But will contracts just roll, or are we going to see things move forward?
Yeah, I think that will be all on a case-by-case basis. It depends on the relationship that the brands have with that particular club or association. I think that it will all come down to, depending on the size of the club and the size of the deal that you're talking about. If it's, I don't know, if it's Manchester United or Liverpool or something, obviously the contracts that they would have would be obviously deeply legal, and there would be a lot of black and white stuff in there. But I think there probably has to be a realization that this is something that nobody has really experienced before. There's been nothing like this in terms of global pandemic for over 100 years. So, the legal contracts and contracts in general across sports and lots of other things have moved on immeasurably from the last time this would have happened. So there's got to be a realization from both sides that, nobody planned this. This came along. There has to be some level of fairness. But I think lawyers make their money in those kind of areas. So I think the lawyers will probably do well. I know, for example, one of the brands we look after, New Balance, the contract with Liverpool is ending, for example. And Nike are taking that contract over. And they said a few months ago, or a month or so ago, that they understood that the league would probably be suspended and then, run later than usual. And they expected to let New Balance Liverpool, I should say, lift the trophy if they win the Premier League, as they probably will, in New Balance kit. But how long that good grace lasts for, I don't know, because if that contract is meant to start on the 1st of June and the Premier League season runs into August, and that's then affecting maybe Nike's launch plans for the next kit, I don't know where the good grace stops and the legals kick in. And as I said, I think that's very much a case-by-case, relationship-based conversation for everybody.
I didn't realize that. I mean, when you think about it, like Liverpool lifting the trophy is a fairly iconic moment for any of the sportswear brands. And, you know, you'd like to have that on your third or fourth day out, your third or fourth match day out.
Yeah.
If you were Nike with the new kit and your New Balance, you've invested all this money, you want the money shot at the end of it.
That's exactly what happens. So, you know, that conversation is ongoing. I don't know exactly how long it will take, nor does anybody, for football to come back or sport to come back in general. But brands like to have these iconic moments, as you say. So to lose after having that sponsorship for 10 years or so, and the crowning moment of it, ironically, is at the end of a championship season that Liverpool will probably win, and the brand like to have that in their portfolio and their imagery and all that sort of stuff. So there's all these sort of weird little quick quirks and kinks in particularly when one relationship is ending, one sponsorship is ending, and a new brand is kicking in, and because all dates are effectively movable at the moment, and that's a situation that nobody has ever really been in before.
How much innovation have we started to see from some of these brands who have specific relationships with individual athletes? Because you'd imagine that with social media, it's pretty possible for Paul Pogba to go onto Instagram and wear his goods, whatever. I can't even remember what his association is, and get that out online. He doesn't necessarily need to be on the football pitch to actually put forward his endorsements, for example. I presume the innovation on that level has gone to a whole new level over the last couple of weeks.
I think that's actually treading a line at the moment, because right. I think there's a view towards, if you're promoting stuff too much at the moment, I think that can be seen as very cynical, and you're trying to take advantage of a situation. I think, for example, a couple of brands who early days in the crisis effectively offered up either, whether it was free goods or discounted goods or whatever, to frontline workers, for example. I think that was really good and it was really positive. If you jump on now, 4 or 5 weeks down the line, if people are still doing that, I think it becomes a little bit, me too, I'm jumping on that bandwagon. And it can be seen by the modern consumer as a cynical move. Then it actually can backfire against you. So I think everybody, ironically, where there's a bigger audience than ever probably to be captured by using social media, because more people are online and more people have probably a bit of time to be looking at these things. I think people are a bit afraid to put their head above the parapet to see what's going on, because you can quite easily turn what you're trying to do a positive into a very, very negative against your brand.
Definitely. And I think even when it comes to the conversations that we would be having about sport and when it would return, like there is kind of a feeling you almost have about that this is insignificant compared to whatever else is going on in the world, that you can't possibly be discussing the return to sport, when in actual fact that actually plays a fairly important part in how people will enjoy their lives if our current way of life is to maintain itself for the next little while. Like, I wonder, would there be any little bit of sympathy towards these massive conglomerates if it's like, well, there are employees on a base level who would benefit from the fact of us still churning out a bit of income via visibility?
Look, I think if people strip back and look kind of a step behind the obvious, in terms of if, as you said, if you have a Pogba or something out there pushing his new football boot, and he's trying to sell things, yet there's no football on, so the kids aren't going to wear the boots or can't really wear the boots and stuff like that. I think that's the cynical part. I don't mean to be picking on Pogba here just because you mentioned him, but on the other side of things, I think people would realise that there's jobs and there's people's livelihoods behind that. So everybody can't effectively stop for much longer, I suppose. But as you rightly say, I mean, this is a situation that nobody anticipated or foresaw. So we just nearly have to deal with it on a day-by-day basis and just see what tomorrow brings. And hopefully, everybody staying at home, as is the message, you know, is having effects. And I think we're still on that kind of upward curve, but I think we've managed it in Ireland a lot better than a lot of other places have.
Are there going to be supply chain issues eventually when this is lifted, or because the globalized market is so big, like they'll be able to shift production from one factory in China to another factory?
I think there will be some lag in orders at the moment for the foreseeable future, because if you think about the chain of events, effectively this started out in the Far East, so it started out in China, and China went into lockdown a lot earlier. So it happened around Chinese New Year, and around Chinese New Year, generally you have most of the workers are rural workers who move to the cities, and they get the jobs in the factories producing sportswear, fashion, whatever it is, phones, obviously everything that's made in China. So around New Year's, Chinese New Year's, they all go home to the country and they have about 2 weeks off. When that happened, they were on the 2 weeks holidays, and generally what happens, and this happens every year, is that each factory will lose about 20 or 25% of its workforce because they just don't decide to come back. So it takes some time for them to rehire people, reskill people, and get them up to speed anyway. Then when you throw on the back that effectively they went into lockdown for anywhere, depending on the region, anywhere between 4 and 10 weeks, you've effectively lost kind of 3 to 4 months of production time there. So a lot of product, and I'll take a general amount of time in sportswear. If we order something today, it takes generally about 6 months to come in from the Far East, from them ordering the fabric to cut and sew to putting it all together, packaging, labeling, and then shipping. It takes about 6 months. So the 6 months effectively can become kind of 9 months. So I think some of the big box retailers who do fashion, the likes of Primark and stuff, I think somebody in there mentioned a while ago that they would have probably empty shelves towards the third quarter of the year because they literally had lost so much time that it would be very hard to pick up. And I think with mostly with retail closed to a huge degree, obviously the product that people had ready to be delivered around now can't really go out because they can't accept deliveries on the same scale that they were accepting before, because their throughput and sellout on the far side is not anything like it was before, because people are not out in the streets and walking in and making impulse purchases. So it's a bit of a long answer to your question, but yeah, I think there will be a knock-on effect across numerous businesses and across every aspect of business, actually, in terms of retail.
In a way, the consumer sentiment coming down might actually be mirrored by a lack of stock. So actually, it might not be the worst time for that all to happen, and hopefully confidence returns as the stock starts to come back. And I mean, look, and that would be a best case scenario where the start of next year is a good start. Like the IMF issued fairly confident predictions yesterday, saying that they thought next year there would be growth in the economy.
Bounce back.
And yeah, we would all bite your, as Mick McCarthy said, bite your hand off right now for that.
That's it.
Speaking of the situation, you guys have had the Ireland jersey for a long period of time, so you've kind of had a front row seat with what's going on with the FAI. Are you happy with the direction that the FAI are taken at the moment?
Yeah, certainly very happy with you know, the new appointees and the way the new board has formed. I think you know, the likes of Roy Barrett and Gary Owens, Liz Joyce, Catherine Guy, and Niall Quinn, all those guys going in there is only a positive for the association. And I know it's well documented, all the issues and dramas that probably went on over the last year or so. But we were actually in negotiations to renew the contract and extend the contract during that period. So it was a very strange time, and we were kind of dragged into the mixer to some degree with the fact that we were renegotiating. It did become quite a straining point in the negotiations, let's say, but there's been changes, things have moved on, and I obviously have to emphasize the fact that this was very much under previous management. And we're as a company, we have done a new deal with the FAI, which goes out to 2026. We're very, very happy with the deal. We're very happy with the changes that have been made, and we're looking forward to a bright new future both off the field and on the field. And with that, obviously, wishing Stephen Kenny and his team all the best as well.
That was the one
The
thing.
Go on, sorry.
Sorry, Jared. Like that was a very one of the things anyway that kind of struck me last year was that for people who are commercially involved with the FAI, there was always going to be a new dawn. There was going to be a corner turned, and by extension of that point, an opportunity for people involved on the commercial side. Did you look at it the same way, or was it very much panic stations when we all didn't really know the future of the organization within the last 12 months?
We took as hard as it is while you're in the middle of a negotiation, we took a very hands-off approach, and we weren't trying to get in under the hood and see what was going on, so to speak. It was a let's see what happens here. I didn't ever truly believe that the association would be allowed to, go bankrupt or disappear or be reformed. I never really thought that was likely. I thought there would have to be some sort of situation found where the FAI would be effectively rescued. I think that Minister Ross at the time didn't help the situation a great degree. I think that he kept beating the drum of a basket case and, kept saying the same sound bites effectively over and over and trying to turn it into a political football, if you excuse the pun. And that's what he was trying to do. But I never... It was a difficult one because some of the things that were coming out, and there was new things coming out every week, obviously at the time. So we were finding out stuff third hand, or effectively at the same time that the public were finding things out. But I think that suited us to a degree because we just were able to roll with the punches, and we're a fluid enough organization that only a couple of us. It takes only a couple of us to make our decisions. So we were able to use the fluidity of the situation in terms of our negotiations, and we eventually all got to a very happy medium, let's say.
Because the Ireland jersey is very important in Irish sport. Like it's one of those things that we all rally behind. And you can even see it in the language that's being used when they're talking about a green jersey. They're talking about the football team, and they're talking about the rugby team, but mostly they're talking about the football team, and they're talking about Italia 90. Like I don't remember if there was a green jersey in Irish politics before that, but certainly when Charlie Hoy realised the power of sport and shows up in the Champs-Elysees and shows up in Rome in the Olympic Stadium after the Italy game, like there's a real kind of sense, so we can, the green jersey, it's an iconic thing, and you guys make that. So like, it's not nothing, it's not the same as some of your other deals.
Yeah, it's a source of great pride to us as an Irish company to have the FAI contract, and like I had plenty of people trying to lobby me in a way when everything was going south in the FAI. People saying, "Oh, you need to pull out, stop supporting it," and I was like, "No, that doesn't make any sense." It's there's basically two main international sports that we have on this island, and as you said, football and rugby. And to have one of those contracts is with an Irish company is a source of great pride for us and for me. So making a decision to walk away would have been a lot more detrimental, I think, to our business as well, because there obviously has to be business considerations in this as well. But having that deal allows us a certain amount of clout with retailers and negotiations on other things that we have, because there's a knock-on effect down the line. But we certainly never wanted to give up the contract just because there was effectively a change in personnel. Now, you can say it was an overdue change in personnel, and under that regime, the previous regime, not everything was right by a long stretch of the imagination. But from my own point of view, we had signed a deal with the FAI in about 2009, and it was a 10-year deal. And that ran effectively up to 2020. So and then I actually bought the other directors and shareholders out of the company around 2011, 2012. So we were in situ with the FAI for the next 8 or 9 years at that point. So I never really had to jump aboard the train and try and look after everybody. Massage egos, tell everybody they're great people. I didn't have to really do that because we were only at the beginning of a long-term contract. And as a result, I was never particularly close. I was friendly in terms of on the away trips that we used to go on as part of the sponsorship and all. You would have probably a meal with the board, and I had relationships with some of those guys in so far as I'd see them at the away games. You'd have a drink, but I wasn't meeting any of these guys at home at the weekend or bumping into them for casual meetings or anything like that. So, but the more important thing, as you said, is it's a source of pride thing in having the Irish jersey and having the sponsorship of that. And we've been doing that since 1994. I think with our company, it's possibly, I think it's the third longest international sponsorship with one company in the world. Now we've changed brands within doing that, but it's still with our company. And that's a source of great pride. I think it's only literally Spain and Germany have longer kit agreements at this point. So that's a pretty cool thing that I like to. I can be happy about that, and I'm happy with the extension, as I said.
I did want to about the orange jerseys. They've been doing the rounds. Jason McAtee kick was all over Twitter for some reason at the weekend. Who actually had the idea for the orange?
I'll have to take the blame for that one as well. I originally, I used to design all the jerseys. I still do to some degree. I still kind of have a final say and stuff like that. But I don't have enough time to be putting into these things now. But in terms of the orange kit, we wanted to do something different that had never been done before. And, orange, my view on it, whatever the political connotations or whatever else, I don't really look too deeply into that. My simple answer is it's a third of the flag. I think orange is a very cool color. We've underutilized it over the years. It stands out, looks great. All you have to do is look at the Holland fans at any major competition. It's a great color. And I decided not just to go orange, but to go fluo orange. So it was very bright, but it was 1996, 97. There was a lot of raving going on. A lot of people were quite happy wearing crazy colors. So I think it was a jersey at the time. I'm not saying I'd never do it again, but I think it has become one of those iconic kits, whether you loved it or whether you hated it.
So we remember hearing stories around the time. They might have been complete bullshit about the IRA somehow getting involved and stealing a truckload of these orange jerseys. Was there any truth in any of that crap that was being told at the time?
No, that's actually a true story. We had at the time, it was I can't remember whether it was 96 or 97. I want to veer towards 97, but we had all of our new replica product coming in over a couple of weeks, and then there was designated launch dates. And we actually had the biggest robbery that was of a non-bank or non-jewelry robbery at the time, which was over £1 million. So our accountant was there. Yeah, our accountant was there one night on his own. We had a security hut at the front of the premises, and this guy came up and put a gun to the security hut guy's head, took his jacket, went down, and threw some stones up at the only light that was on in the office. It was about 8 o'clock at night. So he looked like the security guard to all intents and purposes. He said to the accountant opened the window, he said, can you give us the kettle's not working in the hut, can you give us some water for a cup of tea? So he came down to let him in, and 8 of them walked in, and they basically had, it was the INLA, I believe, not the IRA, but they came in, 8 of them. They spent the whole night in the warehouse, spent about 7 or 8 hours there, and they had hijacked 2 40-foots and a 30-foot van. They backed them in, closed the shutters, and they literally spent the whole night stocking up and robbing everything. The ironic thing was that most of the Ireland jerseys had gone out that day because the launch was the following day. So they kind of missed most of them, but they did get some residual stock. But as we always say in our place, we're still looking for the forklift driver to give him a job, because he was that good at doing it on CCTV. He was filling stuff up. So it is true.
Right. Okay. And did you get it back, or what happened?
No, we didn't. It basically started appearing mostly. It was a mix of product. There was Manchester United product, there was Celtic product, there was Ireland stuff, and it started appearing at basically markets and stuff around Northern Ireland and in Scotland mostly. So everybody would only have dribs and drabs of it, and it went on for a good while. So you can never really reclaim. So in the end, we had the usual back and forward with the insurance companies, and eventually we landed on some sort of agreement, and we just moved on, because you'd have your heart broken trying to get the guards and get the police service in Northern Ireland, and the Scottish cops and everything all involved, trying to seize small amounts all the time. So I think a decision was made to just let it go at that point.
Right, Jesus. And was the orange shirt the inspiration, Maria, for the break-in? They were like, they had heard this was the company who was responsible for was that their cover story?
I'm not the inside man. I don't know exactly what the MO was for the robbery, but I think the fact that I can't even remember if we did a pre-launch in terms of we had revealed that there was an orange shirt coming. I don't even know if there was imagery or stuff beforehand. So looking back at it now, but maybe there was rumors and speculation, and it piqued somebody's interest. But I don't think they could have organized to do this maybe within 24 or 48 hours notice. So I think they probably had a plan for this for a while.
Our Zoom meeting is about to cancel here on us, Johnny. So before I let you go, what's your favorite Ireland shirt of all time?
I'm a big fan of the 2016 shirt that we wore at the Euros, the home shirt. I really like that one. And I liked the second shirt that we did. I remember we beat Croatia 2-0 and Irwin and Roy Keane scored in that game. I really like that shirt. Now, it was quite graphic and heavy graphic wise and stuff at the time, but again, sometimes you have to view these things in context of what the designs and what the general fashion trends were at the time. I really like that one as well. So they'd be two of my favorites. But it's always great working on them, and it's always great kind of knowing what's coming next. You know, it's kind of like a little secret club. There's only a few of us who actually realize what the next stuff is going to be. So hopefully we'll be doing better ones again in the future.
Yeah, and sooner rather than later. We didn't even get into Carlisle, Johnny. We might get you on again sometime soon to go through some of the good stories from that time. But you've been great with your time, Johnny. Best of luck with the business, and hopefully it's back up and we're all out and about and mixing with a bit of social distancing sooner rather than later.
Absolutely.
Thanks a million, man.
Thanks for your time. Look forward to talking to you again. Thanks.